Welcome to Soul Study, the podcast where we explore personal growth, spirituality, and the deeper questions of what it means to consciously create a life we love. Think of this as your weekly book club for the soul. Each episode will study powerful ideas from transformative books, reflect how they apply to real life, and gently challenge ourselves to grow together. This isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. It's about remembering that you are energy, you are powerful, and you are always in a state of creation. Here, we take what resonates and leave the rest. So take a breath, open your heart, and get ready to become your most magnetic self. Let's begin today's Soul Study. Hi everyone, Jules here, and welcome back to Soul Study, the podcast to help you become your happiest, healthiest, most magnetic self. So, hope you all are doing good today. Last week, just to recap what we did, we dove into the workbook section of Key to Living the Law of Attraction, and we really found out what is it that we desire and what is it that we actually want to call in using the law of attraction. And we did all the little questions, the little lists, everything that they had us write out in the workbook. That's what we worked on last week. And last week, our Soul Study challenge was Victor Mindset. So this is that we take everything that happened to us during the week and thought about it as something that we manifested into our lives. Now, I will say, just to give you a recap on how the challenge went for me, I had a really good week, actually. I didn't think I was going to make my financial goal for the month, but then things just started popping into my life. I was doing the walking through the open doors, doing what I think the next best step is, and lo and behold, things happened where I actually hit over my financial goal for the month, and I got to take a week off because I didn't need to make money this week, and I had things come up where I wasn't working as much, so things actually worked out really nicely. And I was really thinking about how did I call this into my life? And I really think that this week it was just following those open doors that the universe was giving me, and also not feeling anxious about not hitting my financial goal, just taking the next best step that I saw the universe was providing for me. So that's how my week went. It was really awesome. This weekend I'm going camping, so I wanted to make sure to get the podcast in before Sunday. So I am doing it late at night this week. I did just film an audition reel, so that's why I have more makeup on than usual if you're watching the video podcast. But enough about how it went for me. I'd really love to know how the challenge went for you guys this week. And even if, I did have one or two negative things happen to me, but I definitely did see how I was calling them into my life. So if good things, bad things, anything's happened to you this week and you thought about how did you manifest it into your life, please let me know. I'd love to connect with you guys and hear about how the soul challenge went for you. This week we're going to be covering chapters 9 through 11, and this is going to be our second to last episode for this book. Next week will be our very last episode for Key to Living the Law of Attraction. And so this week we're covering again 9 through 11, and we're going to be talking about how we take the goals that we found out about last week and the desires that we figured out that we wanted, and how we're going to use the law of attraction to now bring those things into our lives. That's what 9 through 11 is going to teach us. So let's dive right into the book and get to our first quote of the day. Our first quote is going to be on page 91. Page 91. And it says, "It's time to really see the future you desire, feel the emotions it evokes, and believe that it is possible." So I like this quote because it kind of breaks down the next steps of attracting your desires into your life in kind of 3 easy steps. And that is visualization, embodiment, and belief. See the future you desire, that is visualization. Feel the emotions it evokes, that is embodiment. And believe that it's possible, that's belief. So visualize, embody, believe. Those are the 3 things that we're going to be working on now. In order for us to call it into our lives, we have to live the desire within ourselves before we see it outside of ourselves. So it has to be internal before it is external. We have to remember that our external life is only a reflection of our internal state. So whatever our life is holding on the outside, that is a reflection of what's happening internally on the inside. So some might say that it is crazy to believe in something that doesn't actually exist yet. Now, there's a lot of woo-woo people that are labeled crazy. I might be considered crazy, but also it could be kind of crazy compared to the social normatives that are being pushed out in society. And so you kind of have to be a little bit crazy if you're going to believe in something so hard that you're going to see it come to fruition. you kind of have to do, you know how a lot of people are like, I'll believe it when I see it. With this mindset, you have to believe in order to see, not see to believe. So you have to believe in something in order to see it happen. So we're kind of flipping the script here. We're focusing more on that internal feeling, that internal visualization, that internal belief in order to see it come out externally. I hope that makes sense. So I've seen this happen in my life in a couple different areas, in a couple small things that I've called into my life, but also I am still working on calling more things into my life. I have some crazy big dreams and I'm working on applying these steps along with you to make it a reality. But I know with some dreams, it does take time, and waiting for the universe to work is the hardest part. We have to be patient because sometimes some desires come very quickly, and I have seen those things happen. But then some desires will take time because the universe has to orchestrate many different things to come together in order to make your dreams happen. So big or small, it could come quickly. It could take a little bit of time. It just takes time you'll have to see when it comes around. Now, I really put a lot of intention into embodying how I want to feel when I have my desires. The embodiment, visualization I'm pretty good with. The embodiment is the one that I actively practice all the time because I feel like when I'm embodying something, it makes my belief in it rise a lot more. So really spending time, I sit down if I'm not doing anything, or even if like I'm just in the car and don't want to listen to music and I'm driving somewhere one day, I really try to embody the feelings of what it's going to feel like when I have my dreams and desires. So that's what I do in my everyday to kind of practice these 3 steps in order to make my dreams and desires come true. So some steps to help you be able to do this, you can do kind of what I've been doing, is think about your dreams and desires and note what feelings come up. Try to see when you're thinking about your dreams, your next things, the things you're really wanting to call into your life, how does it feel within your body? And take note of that, because then you're going to try to call it back up again. So the next step of that would be try to mimic that feeling as often as possible and act as one would who already has the desire. So those are something that you can do to start calling in those dreams and desires, is to really start to try to embody it and visualize it. Now, that's just kind of an overview of the next 3 steps. We're really going to break these embodiment, visualization, belief steps down in these next quotes. So let's move on to quote number 2 and tell you how to visualize more of your desires. So on page 93 is going to be our second quote of the day. And it says, "Your thoughts and words are declarations of who you think you are and how you perceive the world to be." So what happens a lot of the time is that we speak without thinking first. And now we know how impactful our words are in our lives. We need to take more caution in what we say. So if you've heard of and I think I brought this up earlier in the book, the phrase, "I think, therefore I am." So our thoughts and our words of who we think we are, what we think is happening in the world, that is what becomes your reality. I think, therefore I am. So a way to train your thoughts and your words to be that of something that you want to call into your life is we use the tool of affirmations to help with this. Affirmations are a great tool to help retrain our thought patterns and retrain what words we're speaking into our lives. And there are some examples in the book. So if you look in the book, there are some affirmation examples of positive affirmations and also goal-specific affirmations. So there's 2 different ones, just ones to bring overall positivity and ones to call in specific goals. So if you look into the book, they give some examples there. I'll kind of show on the video podcast. There's these ones here. And then I think on the next page, they have, some goal-specific ones as well. They're just all in here too. So take a look at those, see which ones kind of resonate with you, maybe create some of your own. I think there is like another couple workbooky sections in there as well. Let me double check. Yeah, there are some positive affirmation pages for you to write some on in the workbook as well. So work on those. And how I've seen affirmations and using my thoughts and words in a affirming way to call in my dreams and desires is usually, I've noticed, I always do worse at something when I think or say that I'm not the best at it. If I'm like, oh, I'm actually not very good at this, and then I have to perform doing that, I usually do not perform well at it. But if I'm like, if I speak that I am good enough, that I am worthy and capable of doing this thing, then I always do much better. And I've been trying really, really, really hard to think before I speak, to make sure that my words that I am using are in line with the person that I want to be. So sometimes this looks like stopping for a second in a conversation and taking a breath and being like, oh, sorry, this is actually what I want to say. Sometimes you have to take a little bit of a pause, and it might seem kind of awkward when you're like in a flow of conversation with someone, but it's okay to let silence speak for a second or two. That is something I am really trying to get used to, is to let silence speak, because silence is very impactful and we do not always have to fill the silence. So allow silence to come into your life when you really are trying to think of the correct words to say in whatever situation that you're in. Now, I will say words, for me at least, are a little bit easier to retrain than thought patterns. I feel like thought patterns are a little bit harder because a lot of the times we can't always catch ourselves when we are thinking negatively. But when we do catch ourselves thinking negatively, I, for one, try to change what I'm thinking or change how I'm thinking about a situation. So there's the words and then there's the thoughts. And I personally find the words to be slightly easier than the thought patterns, because the thought patterns, they're neural pathways that are just so easily connected. And when I'm speaking, I have to actually get the words out. It's just not quickly thoughts thinking in my head. So I can take the time usually to pause and then speak what I want rather than just the thoughts automatically happening. So I don't know if you relate. I don't know if you have thoughts going off in your head 24/7 like I do, but if you do, then yeah, thoughts probably will be a little bit harder, but it's definitely something that we can still reprogram and practice. Now, for me, I was once listening to a podcast and they had on a guest. Her name was Suzanne Geisman, and she's like a medium. She does a lot of teaching people how to tap into their intuition. She seems really cool. And I listened to her on this podcast, and she was talking about when negative situations or negative thoughts happen to you, the words that she tells herself is, how interesting. And I really like that because there's no shame or guilt attached with it. When saying how interesting, it opens the door of curiosity, which is more of a loving energy than a guilt or shame-filled energy. You're curious about these thoughts. You're curious about this situation. How interesting that that's happening. So like if you're thinking some negative thoughts about yourself, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this. It's like, instead of perpetuating those thoughts, think, ooh, how interesting that those thoughts popped into my head, and start asking questions. Why did they pop into my head? What was the evidence that made that true? Is there any evidence that made that true? And if there is evidence that made that true, why? How? How interesting. So when negative situations or negative thought patterns happen, try to ask yourself, say how interesting, and ask yourself some questions about it. I found that really useful, specifically in my life, because it's like, ooh, this thought that came into my head that like was just a very intrusive thought. Like that's not me. I don't believe that. That's not who I am. How interesting that thought just popped into my head. Where did it come from? But it's not mine, so I don't need to hold on to it. So how interesting is that? So some things that you can do is you can follow what Suzanne Geisman says, which is how interesting when those negative thoughts or situations come up. But also you can spend some time just thinking before you speak. Figure out how you want to answer a question, and it's okay to let a little bit of silence come into the fold. Silence is very powerful. It also shows that you really are taking your time to respond in a way that is most aligned with you, and it shows that you actually are caring about the conversation a little bit more. And with this, and with the how interesting, use curiosity instead of shame when you find yourself believing your negative thoughts. It's okay to believe your negative thoughts. It happens to all of us all the time. The important part is when we catch it, and then we can change our energy. There's no shame in it. We all do it. I do it. I did it today. Doing an audition is very scary, and I always get thoughts about how I'm not good enough and how there are so many people better than me that could get this. I think about that constantly, but I also know through evidence that I have gotten auditions before, that there is a right time and right place for me to be. And also, it's okay. It's all okay. If I don't make the audition, something else is going to come up. Like, it's not the end of the world. And I know who I am. So when negative thought patterns and beliefs come up, I usually try to counteract them with feeling back into my vessel again, feeling back into myself and knowing my soul and taking the time to not let myself believe my negative thoughts. Hopefully that can help you guys with using your thoughts and words to help you design the world you want to live in and the person you want to be. We're using affirmations to help us embody and visualize our goals and desires. Our next quote number 3, is going to be on page 103. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into visualization specifically. It says, your ability to visualize your dreams will serve as a catalyst in their creation. I like this quote a lot. Maybe it's because I like the word catalyst, but I do hold this quote to be true. Visualization is just as powerful as physical practice. And there have been many studies that show this. There's been studies with athletes that have performed not even like training. I can't remember the specific study, but there was a study done that they had athletes train for and like work out for a week, and they had ones doing it physically, and then they had ones not even go to the gym and just work out and visualize themselves doing it mentally. And they found that even the people that just did visualization and didn't actually go to the gym still found muscle growth as if they were still going to the gym. I can't remember the specific percentages, and I do not want to give false information, but they did have muscle growth. And there are some other studies that I have found that are on the National Library of Medicine website. And there's 2 studies. I'll link them below. One of them is the benefits of guided imagery on athletic performance, a mixture method approach. And they basically concluded that, I'll read what they said. The research results support recent findings that athletes with higher athletic achievement tend to have stronger imagery abilities. So the ones that are having high levels of achievement in the athletic world are having stronger imagery ability, so they can think about it and they're visualizing a lot more. So that's one study. And there's another study that talks about this too that I found that I'll link below if you want to find out more about it. It's also from the National Library of Medicine. And this one is the effects of imagery practice on athletes' performance, a multi-level meta-analysis with systemic reviews. So this one also talks about how visualization and imagery has helped athletic performance as well. This kind of goes to show physically that your brain can make things happen in your physical reality. So using visualization to help support your dreams and desires can actually, like it says in the quote, serve as a catalyst in their creation. It actually can bring those things to life. And the book actually gives 2 visualization examples, so you can kind of see how visualization does affect your body, and like it affects your energy, it affects your body, and it affects your energy. So the first one is, they call it the skyscraper visualization. There's a part 1 and a part 2, and just compare the different emotional and physical reactions that you have when you read both of them. And you can totally see how visualizing changes your whole biochemistry too. Look at that. It's very interesting. And this is the visualization, because like I said, I am definitely an embodiment person. I do a lot of practices with feeling things in my body, which visualization does help you with the feeling of things in your body. But I haven't really done like very specific, like really seeing myself in my dreams and desires. I have before, just not all the time. It is still something that I'm working on, but I have seen results with this in real time, when my mental state shifts, things happen. And I will give an example with this at one of my jobs. So one of my go-going jobs, I do get tips, and I'm dancing around a lot of people playing like blackjack and roulette and that kind of thing. And I found, call me crazy, but I have found that when I am in a certain mental state and I may be like depressed because I'm like, oh, you know what? Like nothing's happening. I'm not getting a lot of tips. I will literally be on this box and I will like, obviously I'm still dancing. I'm still smiling. I'm performing, but like I go back into my little brain and now I am thinking about how grateful I am to be able to dance. I'm really just embodying the music. I'm taking time just to have fun and not really care about like making tips. I'm just having fun, having a good time, feeling grateful. And I will 100% of the time, 100% of the time, start getting more tips without a doubt. And that's also kind of why I love that job, because it's so interesting to see how my mental state is affecting my physical reality around me in an instant. Like this is one of the places where I have seen how the law of attraction works in real time. If you have a tip job, try this. It is crazy. It's crazy to see how your mental state affects like your income. Like to see like an actual monetary like result off of that is actually very fascinating. So that's just an example of how I've seen visualization serve my life. So I've seen that. Now, to help you do this, like I said, if you have a tip job, try what I did, try it, see what happens for you. But also do the visualization exercises in the book and feel the difference. Start feeling the difference, and you can take that feeling with you anywhere you go. Now, for the visualization part, also read supporting studies to help your logical brain believe in the power that the mind holds. Find evidence to support your dreams and desires. My brain is a little bit analytical. I'm woo-woo. Don't get me wrong. I love a good woo-woo moment, but I also have more of an analytical side of my brain. And that side of my brain loves to find evidence, loves to see evidence, loves to read studies that supports my woo-woo side of my brain. So if you're like that too, maybe do a little bit of research and see if there are some supporting materials to help you, like these other 2 articles that I'll link below, to help you know that this stuff isn't as woo-woo as people think it is. We're going to dive a little bit more into the visualization to help with the embodiment and the belief systems. So our last quote is going to be on page 106. 106. You must choose to visualize positive, inspirational, and uplifting images in order to create a vibrational match for what you do want to attract in your life. So we're just repeating the same thing again and going a little bit deeper. We are using these visualization tools to create a vibrational match for what we do want with the universe. I like to think of this as like a spider web. When you think of a spider web, or how a spider web works, if you think about it, it's like it's a whole web and the spider is somewhere on the web. Now, when a fly hits it, it'll send vibrations through the web that go to the spider, and the spider goes directly to the fly or whatever insect that landed on the web. So we can think about that kind of like our vibration. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to match our vibration to ping the web to call in what that string is connected to, if we think about it like that. So I like to think about it like a spider web, even though it's like not as scary, because like spider webs are kind of scary if you think about what's happening in them. But I like to think about this as like an energetic spider web, but the spider is actually like our dreams and desires that we're calling into us. So we do have to set our vibration. We have to ping the vibrational match of that what we desire. So that means changing ourselves to match that vibration, not hoping everything else changes to match what we want. So we are the ones that have to change. We are the ones that have to set ourselves to that vibration of what we want. So this can also be done through our visualization, through our affirmations, but also through vision boards. And in the book, they give an example of making a vision book, which is a little bit different than a vision board, but kind of goes along with the same concept. This is going to help you internalize your visualizations with images that you're seeing externally. So you're having your internal state be triggered by what you're seeing in your external state, which is another way to help bring those vibrations about. So I have a vision board. I keep it in my closet. It's actually kind of an old one. I really should redo a vision board. I do look at it when like I'm getting my clothes for the day because it is in my closet. So it is giving me a visual, like an external visual reminder of what my goals and dreams and aspirations are. Now, I've also been thinking about, because vision boards can be sometimes hard to get. If you don't have magazines lying around, you have to go buy magazines or print off things that you want to put onto a vision board. Now, I love the act of doing things physically. I do love it, but sometimes we don't have the time, the space, the money, the energy to do those things. So I was also thinking about it could be a cool way to make a vision board, but as a Pinterest board. So you find images that you really like and you create your own Pinterest board of those images. So then when you are scrolling on, or when you're on your phone, you have it everywhere that you go and you could just pop it up and look at your Pinterest board. So that's one thing that you could also do to help with your visualizations. Now, or even a scrapbook, a scrapbook of desires, that could be kind of fun too. So those are just some tools that I've used and I'm thinking about using to call things into my life through visualization. Now, what you can do is also use the book tools, make a vision book or make a vision board, or if that's too much, do the Pinterest thing. Or if that's all really still too much, and this is something that I think I'm going to do because I haven't had a lot of time to update my vision board, is that I am just going to find one picture that ignites those feelings of what I dream and desire, and I keep it with me at all times. I'll put it in my purse, I'll put it in my wallet, and I will just look at this one picture, and that picture will be that one picture that ignites the feelings of my dreams and desires. So you can also do that too if everything else seems a little too intense. Those are just some other options that are out there. So that's it for today, guys. It was a bit of a shorter episode, but again, what we did today is we dove into the practical tools that will help bring your desires to life. The visualizations, the affirmations, and how to help bring those in to place your belief systems of your dreams and desires. When you can truly see it, feel it, and believe it within yourself first, the law of attraction has something real to work with. So we have to see it, we have to feel it, we have to believe it, because that is what's giving the law of attraction something to go off of. So that's kind of what we talked about today. Now, we got 3 more journal prompts for you. I know this one's kind of a lot because we have the workbook, we have journal prompts. These are just journal prompts if you happen to finish the workbook and you're like, I want more. Let's get into it. So our journal prompts for today are, number 1, close your eyes and think about one desire you have. One of the ones you may have had off your bucket list, whatever you're trying to call it. Really picture your life with it already in it. What does it feel like? Where do you feel it in your body? Write about the experience in as much detail as possible and notice what emotions come up as you sit in that vision. Journal prompt number 2, pay attention to the way you talk about yourself, to others, and in your own head. Write down 3 things you commonly say or think about yourself that might not reflect who you are becoming. Now rewrite each one of those as an affirmation that aligns with the person that you are stepping into. Journal prompt number 3. If you were to create a vision board, Pinterest board, vision book, today, what would be on it? Describe it in writing, the images, the feelings, the life it represents. What is one image or symbol you could find this week to keep close as a daily reminder of what you're calling in? So those are our 3 journal prompts. Now, let's get over to our weekly soul challenge wheel spin. And let's give ourselves a wheel spin. Ooh, and we got digital sunset. Let me tell you guys what that is. So digital sunset means turn off your phone and don't look at screens 1 hour before bed, which we should probably be doing anyway. But this one is our challenge this time, is an hour before you go to sleep. Do not look at any screens whatsoever. This is going to be hard for me. I'm sure it's going to be hard for you too, but we're all in this together and we're going to try our best this week to do our soul study challenge. So good luck everybody with that. And that is it for today. Like I said, we have a bit of a shorter episode here. We are almost done with this book, and next week will be our last episode for the key to living the law of attraction. Once again, if you want to follow the podcast, the platforms for Soul Study are going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and on YouTube under Soul Study. But if you also want to follow me, you can catch me on Instagram and on YouTube at Dream Life Jules. So come say hi to me there. I'd love to talk with you guys more about these kinds of subjects and also see how your manifestations are going. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Take what resonates, leave the rest, and I hope you have an amazing week becoming your happiest, healthiest, most magnetic self. And until next time, bye.